Good morning and welcome to the Soul Stories podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Ann, and today we're up to episode 13, I think. Wowzers, I think. Doesn't matter anyway. Doesn't matter what number episode we're up to because it's going to be a doozy. And I have a beautiful guest to introduce you to today. And she's got so much to share that I think a lot of people are going to resonate with and learn from and have even some massive aha moments. So I'd like to introduce you to Lucia from Follow Your Style. And yeah, this is a funny story because I met Lucia a couple of years ago, again, on this business course that apparently half of my podcast guests are from, which it shows me that it's the right course to do because I've met some amazing people. But the reason Lucia is sitting here in front of me today or talking to us is because of the podcast idea was in my head, and everyone had been sort of pushing me to do the podcast for ages, and I kept fighting it, saying, I wasn't ready, and all the voices in my head that why it wasn't going to be good enough, and I didn't have a nice voice, and all sorts of things went through. And we were in a cacao circle, and Lucia here, we were sitting in circle sharing, and I can't remember the question, but it was, do you remember how it happened? I think Lucia went, well, this is your sign.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember how it went down, but in that moment, it was Lucia that said something to me, and it came out that, okay, and it was really a strong sign that I had to do this podcast. Oh, that's right. I remember now. We were talking really deep as we do in our cacao circles, and Lucia had shared something, and I knew about herself that I knew nothing of. It might have been what's one of the hardest things you've had to deal with in your life. Yeah. And Lucia was telling me about her life and her struggles, and I was like, wow, that is amazing, and I had no idea. And then we went, okay, because I hadn't actually thought about interviewing people at that stage. I had just thought I was just going to do a podcast, and I thought, oh, everyone's doing podcasts. Yeah. But then I thought, well, there's no reason why I can't interview people. And then you said that you'd be a guest, and I was like, okay. And from that day was when I decided that I was going to record this podcast. So thank you, Lucia, for being there for starters and giving them that little push, the nudge into the right direction. And that was a little while ago now, to the point where I can't actually remember the details of your story, which is perfect because as I interview, it'll all just refresh my memory as to what your story is. But I remember just being gobsmacked. And again, it's funny, you just look at people and you have no idea what their life has entailed, what struggles or traumas they may have had. You just see the end result, which is usually a beautiful, for you, well-balanced, lovely, friendly, go-getter. Like you're a go-getter, you got a beautiful business, a styling business. She's great if you ever want your wardrobe styled. She's really good. She went through my wardrobe and I'm like, oh, my wardrobe's boring. And I took a photo and sent it to her, and she's like, no, and she can read your whole life by your wardrobe. It's really, really interesting. So I'll ask you at the end how people can follow you and a little bit about your business. But for now, actually, do you want to tell people now, just introduce yourself and tell them pretty much what you're doing? And
I am Lucia. And I guess my business Follow Your Style began after I had a major accident with a part of my body that I couldn't use anymore. So the universe was putting it out there, telling me that, I had to change direction. And I guess I help women, and I've always advocated for women since I was 21 years old. And I'll tell that story a little bit later, Michelle.
Yes.
Since I was about 21 years old, I've had to really step up and be strong as an advocate. And I guess I can start into that. But women and their bodies have been disconnected very much, like they see all the beautiful images of, amazing women that have got everything all together. They don't realize that it's been a journey for each and every one of those women that's got their body together and got, amazing physique, or, they've got great skin, or whatever it is, So getting women to embrace the fact that they need to connect back to their bodies and to their minds. So the whole mind, body and soul connection is very, very strong for me. And I do that by looking into people's wardrobe, into women's wardrobes to begin with. That's the starting point. And then from there, things basically just grow, I guess. When a woman invites me to look at their wardrobe, I know that they're opening their heart to something greater, you know, something beautiful. They're willing to connect with me and bring a piece of them, you know, to me. So I love that aspect of it. But I now do wardrobes, but I also do, you know, emotional connection. So really connecting with that body and, you know, loving every bit of you, every bit.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing, because even those people with the perfect bodies or skin or face or whatever it may be, they're not okay half the time as well.
Exactly.
Like probably more often than not, they're maybe even worse off than the ones that think they hate their bodies. Some of those women that are perfect have just as many issues.
We've been conditioned. We've been really conditioned.
Yeah.
Women.
It actually scares me with social media. I mean, I'm looking through my Instagram and Facebook and I'm thinking, this is what, like, I'm okay because, and you'll be the same. We didn't grow up with this.
No.
I mean, we've all got our own issues, body issues, just from, you know, the Cosmopolitan magazines was enough for us.
Yeah.
The Clio and all that. But they're just absolutely surrounded by it. And it actually dawned on me the other day, oh my God, this is what my daughter has to grow up and compare herself against. And it scares me. So that's why I'm bringing my children up to be resilient, and we do self-love and we teach, and it's still probably not going to be enough. There's going to be times when they're not going to feel worthy. I don't feel worthy looking at these Insta models that are 20 with a million filters and God knows what, you know?
Well, that's the thing. There's so many filters and so many conditions that are layered on, you know, just the natural body. I've come on today. I've got no makeup on.
Well, you look beautiful.
I've just let it go, you know, like I strongly believe that acceptance of who we are is probably needs to start at the very beginning. You know, when they're babies, you know, like we're conditioning them as babies, you know, they've got to have a certain fashion item. My 2.5-year-old granddaughter, she's got like fashion clothes on, and I'm thinking, wow. You know, it's starting there, you know, and it's really scary. It's very scary.
It is scary. I mean, I think I always think my poor kids, they get hand-me-downs. I don't remember when I actually bought something for them. Me too. Yeah. But then I think my poor old kids, but then I'm thinking I'm probably teaching them something the same. Yeah, we were brought up with hand-me-downs, and they don't even know they're hand-me-downs. It's never been brought up.
No,
but I've never paid for anything. People give me bags of clothes constantly, and some beautiful things in there.
And I think that's the beauty of women getting together and celebrating the fact that, you know, they may not have the money, you know, for their children's clothes. So we all pull together as women, as a community, and we help, you know, put clothes on the back of children. What a great feeling that is as a community of women, you know. And I think that's more powerful than going to the shops and buying, you know, new things. I think there's power and a purpose in celebrating that, you know, you can give to your other women in the community, you know. And women, I was talking about this last night, women are wanting to get back to that tribal.
We do. That's why we sit in circle.
Yeah, we sit in circle. We celebrate every part of our, you know, who we are, and all of that has slowly been eroded away, and we're bringing it back to that community. So circle is powerful for women, and for our children to see circle is equally as powerful. I know my girlfriends that were girlfriends when I was raising my children, those kids are all connected still, like they're in their 30s now.
Wow.
Yeah. We had a really strong circle. We would come together. We were either pregnant or we had our babies. We'd breastfeed. We'd do all the coffee, the chat, let the kids mix together. And as the years have gone by, these kids have just grown together. they've mucked up, like I see your Diane and your kids do, you know,
they
together and being rugrats, you know.
They go crazy, but it's all harmless. Like they're just expelling their energy. They're having fun. They're not on devices. They're running around screaming and
encouraging them to be, you know, just
kids.
Yeah, scream and yell and have their hierarchy there, you know.
That's right. They do have a little hierarchy. You can hear them like fighting. And my little Mila loves to be the boss, and then the others don't like that. And then there's a fight.
Well, Mila's my little great granddaughter, actually.
You got a great granddaughter. Lucia doesn't look like but a year over 30.
Well, 63. So I've lived, lived a little. So yeah.
Good on you. Oh, it's so beautiful. So yeah, back to childhood. That's because that's where it all starts. As we said, our children have been brought up the best way we know how. And before we started the call, Lucia and I were just quickly discussing our childhood and what came from that, because most of these, as you said, belief systems and patterning and the way we look at the world all comes from when we're little. Yeah. So so you had body image issues growing up?
Yeah. So I was the first of 5 children, and we came from a migrant history. My father was Italian, my mother was English, English Australian. And my father was, from the country that had been through war. And so he didn't want his children to starve. And I was the first child. So I probably eating pasta at about 8 months old, like feed her so she doesn't get sick,
So you were in Australia by this stage, you'd already migrated. So you're born in Australia?
In Australia, yeah. But,
Is Peters your married name?
Yes.
Yeah. What was your maiden name?
Tuliak.
Oh, I love it. I knew it was something going to be very Italian.
Yeah, Tuliak.
Lucia Tuliak.
That's something though, I was always Lucy. But, coming back to my body and how my body, like my body shape, I was always larger, like the gang in the street. Like we had the street gang in where I grew up, we had dust and dirt. I grew up in Mount Isa. I don't know if you know Mount Isa.
No, I've never been there. Obviously know about it, but
far north Queensland. It's a mining town. It's very isolated. So my father grew, all the veggies. He was a miner for a short time, but then became a carpenter. But anyway, I was the chunkiest. I was the biggest of the group. The kids would survive on an apple. I couldn't survive on an apple. I had to have almost 3 meals a day, or then I'd go to the fridge. So I was kind of needy as a little child, as probably a 4 or 5 year old. And as I grew, my need for food just kept growing. So I can remember in grade 3, I was bullied by a girl, because I was sitting there eating a pie and she was having a real dig at me about me eating a pie, and then, shoved the pie in my face. And I still remember that, I was in grade 3. I'm 63 now, so I must have been I must have been 5, 6, 7 years old, so I remember it so clearly. It doesn't affect me anymore, but I do remember the story and the bullying. And it was around my size, because they were all tiny, like they were probably Finns, and because we grew up in a multicultural community. They were quite skinny. We didn't know their circumstances, but I know that I was always bigger than everyone, so I always felt a little bit like a freak, a bit awkward. Always had that feeling. And all the way through my junior years in high school was the same. Like I was bigger, I was curvier. At 12 I had a body almost like a woman. And my girlfriend, she was this stick thing model, and I used to compare myself always, with this perfect person that I thought she was at the time. But it was interesting. At 14, I went, you know what? They can have education. This sucks. I don't like this. I am very much a creative and a free person. I love to dance. I love to paint. I love to sing. I was all of those things as a child. So I just went. I kissed school goodbye at 14. I had a job to go to at 15, and I just went, you know what? this fills my cup. I'm going to do this. And that was my journey, that young age. I had an uncle and an auntie that were quite, they really supported me with my mother, because, as we said, my mother was brought up in an orphanage and nuns. So she was quite a, stern woman. And
Yep.
she had, by the time I was 7, she'd had all her kids. So she had 5 children. So she was struggling, she was a ranter. She would rant and rave and get outside, and, you're seen and not heard, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just went, no, school's not for me, out I go, and went into the big world of, I went into marketing, actually, would you believe?
I was going to ask what sort of job you went into.
I went into radio, and I have a dear friend still from that time who lives over in Israel, Sarah, and it's interesting, just how that formed my who I am, I guess. It created me. I was only there for 8 months, but it really had an influence on what I did. So from radio, I went to retail and went into footwear. So I was in footwear for over 20 years, just buying, selling, the whole, I guess the whole thing that goes with marketing, promoting, understanding fashion, what's coming for the future fashion, that type of thing. But in between that time, I had children. So I had my first child at 21. And
so young, isn't it?
I really didn't. I was 20, almost 21.
Did you still have body stuff going on then?
Oh, absolutely.
For that stage? And did you have like eating? Do you believe you had any eating issues, or was it just that you were a little bit of a bigger girl, just because of your genetics and things?
Back then, I had no idea about diet and how my diet affected my health. I had really no idea, no education around it. There was not a lot back then. I guess healthy eating was the pyramid back then.
Yes, I remember being taught that.
Yeah, the old pyramid. So, which I would probably prefer to just take out meat. I'm a strong believer in plant-based. So anyway, coming back.
So 21, you're having a child.
I was having a child. So I'd had one, and I was going 22 with my second child, in between working full-time, part-time. But my second child, we were going along famously. We had to both work. It was just a necessity back then. I hadn't really lost my baby weight from the previous child, and it was becoming a bit of a struggle. But anyway, I fell pregnant again with my second child, and that's in between that time I actually had I lost one.
Oh, you did.
Child at 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Pretty traumatic. Kind of got over that really quickly. It was sort of one of those things back then that you brush it under the carpet. Right, yeah. You don't talk about it. My husband and I talked about it, and my husband and I had we've had a really good relationship that we can pretty well be open about everything. If I'm not happy, he will know. So, that's been quite open. Anyway, long story short, I had my middle child at 22, almost 23, and the roof caved in, basically. She didn't grow in vitro. So from about 6 months, the fetus stopped growing. So I was a tiny little bundle of pregnancy, and I thought I was beautiful because I was this tiny little bundle of pregnancy, but there was all sorts of things going on inside. And when she was born, they didn't bring me to her straight away. They kind of went, oh, she's broken. We'll whip her away. And I had to basically demand to see her and bring her into the room with me.
Did you have any inkling before you gave birth? Back then, there was a test and stuff?
My husband and I had that discussion. If there's anything wrong, because when I had the prenatal visit, the doctor said, a female doctor, she said, I know there's something going on, because we didn't do amnio. We chose not to. But she said, there's something going on. We can't tell you what it is, but the fetus just hasn't grown anymore, you know. And it was a constant doctor's visits before she was born, but they couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. So I was prepared for something.
That's good. So then you demanded to see her because they wouldn't let you actually.
Yeah. So when I did that, I just thought she was the most amazing bundle of joy. You know, I just looked at this little one and wonder. And anyway, they started, there was a professor at the hospital on the day that she was born, so he came and looked at her and viewed her, and he actually diagnosed her immediately, because we were, remember, in isolation in Mount Isa, so away from any of the major hospitals. So he diagnosed, told us all the, you know, the details about it, and we just went, well, okay, whatever, you know, we're going to take her home. We're going to do the best we can for this little one, you know, love her the way she is. Anyway, I was breastfeeding. I'd breastfed my previous child. I was breastfeeding, and anyway, one of the nurses came in and just said, oh, you're starving her, she's not getting enough milk. But meanwhile, she'd had a cleft palate, she had all sorts of ear, nose and throat issues. So breastfeeding would have been the best for her, because she could slow it and do everything. But when this person told me this, it was like, yeah, get the bottle in there and, you know, feed her up kind of thing, which led to double pneumonia at a month old. So
what?
Yeah, because when you're feeding a child with a bottle, the flow is just really, really fast, or you can slow it down. But with her throat, you know, all her reflexes, they were all slow. So the milk was getting into her lungs. She was aspirating. So she was aspirating into her lungs, and both lungs collapsed. And anyway, I had to demand that she get sent to Brisbane, because they basically just stuck her in a corner. And I went up there one day to see her, and she was just bottle propped. The milk was just flowing, and the milk was just coming out of her mouth. And
my goodness,
this is not
horrific.
This is not right. Yeah, that was. I just went, this is not right. And that is where advocacy for women started. That basically, I just saw the way carers could actually do that to a small, defenseless little one. Unknowingly, I guess, because they didn't understand the syndrome that she had, and, you know, I didn't either, but I just knew that was wrong. I knew in my heart that this person, this little one, this little life had been given to me for a reason. And the journey has been the journey of understanding that gift that I've been given in her lifetimes, because she's 43 now.
Oh, she's my age.
She's from that, you know, she was what was she? She was 4 pound 15, I think. Born.
Oh, tiny
wee bub, but, you know, tenacious.
Yes.
So she went through that. We took her to Brisbane. She bounced back really quickly. Then got her on a plane, got her back home. You know, we flew through the younger years. She didn't actually walk until she was about 3.5 years old. She had hip problems and stuff like that. So, you know, there's been lots of journeys with her. But the one thing I've learnt is that as a woman, my voice is vital.
Yes.
And helping women understand that, standing in your purpose and in your power is really, really important, because it could mean life or death for someone.
Yeah,
you know,
that could have been, like, if you'd left her up there, she probably wouldn't have made it.
I wouldn't have had her. And it can be that for yourselves, right? As humans, if we don't you know, step into that power, then that very well could happen. You know, we've seen that on the Gold Coast again. this 2 weeks ago, I think it is, or the week ago. You know, these sorts of things happen to women because they're not heard, their you know, their voice. So Miss Natalie now is 43, as I said, but during that time I've had to step up and really stand in my strength when it comes to occupational people in authority, you know, like people that want the best outcome.
Yeah. And you look up to them and you trust them sometimes, but you blindly trust, I find at times.
Yeah. So I question everything now.
Good.
I don't blindly trust.
Yes.
And I've been that person since then, you know, since 22, because I know that everyone is human, and even doctors, they learn, you know, teachers, doctors, everyone, they learn a skill, but they're human, and they bring their stuff with them, you know, their limiting beliefs, their patterns, they bring that with whatever they're doing in their lives. So that's where that's the reasoning behind me questioning diagnoses and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been
huge learning, huge journey, learning, like it's just, and as you said, it's a gift. You look at it as a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. She we've had I think, like, we've had, I don't know what it is, Michelle, but it seems to be that you're given these events to grow from. And, you know, like, I can think of many events in my life where 48, I was diagnosed with liver disease, right? So
wow.
I've got chronic liver disease. I've lived with it for 15 years now. So I think 15, is that 48, 63? I don't know.
Wow.
Anyway, I was told that I wouldn't make Christmas in July.
What?
First diagnosed. Yeah.
So how did you get through that? Like, why? How are you still here?
Medication.
Wow.
Medication, right? So I had to accept medication, and that was another thing for me. You know, I have an autoimmune disease from the anger, from the grief, from the fear, all of that stuff that happened back then. I had bottled it up.
Yes.
Bottled it up for years and years and years. You know, 48, 22, you do the math, right?
Yeah.
Hadn't dealt with things, hadn't been allowed to either. Like, we weren't encouraged to talk about those things. It was like, I had that circle of beautiful friends. They were the ones that really supported me through all of that time, you know, with her. They're all aunties. They're all her aunties. They love her to bits. Their kids love her to bits. You know, they're her cousins. She was a bridesmaid at one of the daughters.
So lovely.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the sort of family that they've become. But anyway, in this diagnosis, this was another thing, you know, where I had a 16-year-old daughter, because we've had another child since Nat, and she was 16 at the time, and I had to have that conversation with her, because I was told, go home, get your things in order. This is, you know, this is real. If we can't find a liver transplant, then, you know, you won't make Christmas. Go
and you know what emotions liver holds if you look into Chinese medicine?
I do.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd be all over it.
I'm all over it.
So it was all suppressed anger. It's funny because I've got some issues going on at the moment. I got a funny feeling it's liver stuff. I've actually got to go to the doctor today to find.
Oh, Michelle, I've just gone all over.
I know, because I got some blood tests coming back. So I've always felt it was liver, and my kinesiologist has said liver. And now you're telling me about this. I was like, what the?
Has just gone goosebumps from my arms through to my feet. A whole lot. That was my biggest discovery, that all of the anger, suppressed anger from my childhood, from having Natalie, not being able to get that voice out, you know, all of that stuff has caused this dis-ease in my body.
Yes.
The disconnect. And So anyway, 6 months down the track after, like he said to me, I don't think you'll get to Christmas. I went, well, okay, let's see if
you don't know me.
He put me on a course. I've got an amazing gastroenterologist, and he put me on a course of these drugs that are only really experimental, but he said we have to do it because you're not living any quality now, and you've still got a lot of years to go, kind of thing. And he said to me, you get to this age, 48, 55, there usually is a crisis in your life with your health, and you can either go one or two ways. You can either go very healthy, or you can not be here. So he said that's what happens with many people. They suppress things, and that's where you get that disease and disconnect. And I talk about that all the time, women disconnecting from their bodies, and that's why we have.
And then it comes out physically, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, mine started with my skin.
Yes.
Because I
know your journey. Yeah.
Yes, it's all coming out. That's the thing. You can hold it and suppress it for so long. But as you said, see, I'm 44, you're 40. It was 48, was it for you? So it's that time where your body physically goes, enough's enough, and it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So now you're on medication.
Yeah.
For your liver. Can you drink alcohol? That's my big question. Obviously, not at all. You can't, because your liver is the one thing that detoxifies, isn't it?
Yeah. 2 years ago, I went to Melbourne on a conference, and it was quite cold. It was September, so it was quite cold. And I got stuck into the Baileys, and I was enjoying the Baileys, let me tell you. And, it was cold weather in Melbourne. We'd go and have espresso martinis down at the, the little restaurants and that. When I got home, my liver, like my gastroenterologist says, what the hell have you been doing? He said, my God, your liver is crazy. If you don't get this right, you're going to be on steroids. So
wow.
2 years ago, I had a massive backflip, like what did I do to myself? And it's spirits and alcohol. He told me, don't drink spirits. Spirits cannot be processed by the liver. And any alcohol now cannot be processed by my liver. I just don't drink. If I'm out, I have a wine glass with soda water and a lemon, but I don't drink. I pretend, because people notice. And
they do. It's a big thing not to drink.
Yeah, it is. But I can't.
You physically can't.
No.
So it's an autoimmune disease, which pretty much means the doctors don't know what it is, so they just call it autoimmune. Is that your understanding of autoimmune disease?
Yes, but what I have come to conclude over my time, because I've done a lot of research around autoimmune disease comes from trauma. Trauma triggers the autoimmune system to
attack itself
and start doing stuff. And we live such stressful lives, right? And mine happened at 22, 23. My first trigger was then. And that's when I first got diagnosed with thyroid disease. And thyroid is autoimmune.
Yes.
My journey started there. So having that understanding now, I'm very mindful of meditation, of my emotional well-being, being very grounded, living life to the fullest, as you can imagine.
Yes.
And really not putting pressure on myself or my body, like really understanding that. Because what happened is I started a clothing business because I'm a stylist and because I love clothing, and started this clothing business and was, how are we going for time, Michelle?
Right? Yeah, no, good. All good. There's no rush.
Okay.
We just chat as long as it takes.
Oh, okay. So the styling business started after I finished in the corporate world. I started working in the corporate world. I didn't talk about that before, but yeah, I went into banking and thinking that it would be, I don't know what I thought about banking, but I just thought banking would be a really great change from retail. And I got into it really, really easily, worked my way up to, supervisor level. And I kind of got to that stage where I went, oh, this isn't really, I know what it was. I had to do a credit card for an 18-year-old, and I went, you know, this ethically doesn't sit right.
No, it doesn't align with you at all.
Sit right. And that was the trigger. And then I resigned. I don't know. I just said to my husband, you know, it's not worth it. I've been diagnosed with that liver disease at the time. And
You look after yourself.
I don't need the stress or pressure. You know, when I first went to the bank, it was just transactions. I was just transacting. But my personality is leader.
You are very similar. You can't just be a worker. You're a natural leader.
I'm a natural leader. It's part of who I am, I guess. And so anyway, I resigned from that and I went, you know what, I'm going to go into business for myself. I was going to markets and I was seeing this couple of ladies that I was their best customer. I was always buying their stock. And they said, look, would you like to get some stock? So I said, absolutely, I'd love to get some stock. So I started buying their stock and selling it on at markets around the Sunshine Coast. And from that, it just exploded.
Boom.
It just exploded. Yeah, it was like one what do you call a marquee? Then it became 2 marquees. Then it became a pop-up shop. Then it became going to Warwick and everywhere, going up to the Tablelands, going up to Charters Towers, taking my 12-seater bus and, you know, doing the whole tripping. You know, we were doing fairs, we were doing Easter parades, you know, we were doing the lot. And anyway, it was fabulous. The money was just like coming in. Oh my God, this is brilliant. But I was disconnected. I was pushing and pushing, and I was disconnected to the body. And Easter at Roma, I can't remember when. It's just before I went and began my online journey, probably about 5-6 years ago now. My body just went, you know what, you can't keep doing this. And I fell over, fractured my wrist. I had a bone graft, a pin, a plate. I had the works and couldn't work for 12 months, 6 months, 12 months. You know, it was a good 12 months before I started, you know, getting able to drive and feeling confident. But what's happened is it's got no strength in my hand.
I wouldn't.
It looks all right, but I've got no real strength in it, and it's affected the whole, because it's got a plate and a bone graft. It's compromised. So, you know, any heavy lifting, just can't do it anymore. So clothing is very, very heavy.
Yes.
You know, I used to pile on, you know, stacks of clothes onto one arm and then stacks on this arm, and, you know, off we'd go, kind of thing, with my sister, because I did work with my sister. That's cool. Yeah, we were the sisters. We were the country sisters, because we would do all the country areas.
Yes.
Know? We had our cowboy boots and our jeggings, and yeah.
That's so cool. So what did your wrist teach you? Was it just your body saying enough's enough? It's funny. Have you listened to Mel Taylor's podcast yet?
No.
That was her turning point when she broke her wrist.
Yes.
Same as you.
The body just says physically you can't keep going. You can't keep pushing.
Yes.
And, you know, you don't want to experience that, but we don't listen, you know, until there's a 4B2 or something that hits us. We have a tendency not to listen and not to take heed. So that started my whole online journey, and here I am now, you know, rediscovering and transforming into another amazing business, and you know, doing what I love, which is raising and helping women. I can remember in the marquees, Michelle, this is no word of a lie, I'd have like rows and rows of jeggings, they were called, and it's going back about 5 years. And I'd have women in between with their G-strings on, pulling on their jeggings to try on their clothes, you know, and I'd have all these guys trying. I ended up having to put curtains around my marquee, because women just felt so comfortable in the marquee, they would just take everything off and use it as like a fitting room. You know, there'd be someone in the fitting room, so they couldn't wait. They just, we're here. So it was like, no, we've got to do something. So we put curtains all around the marquee, so we had privacy. But it was just amazing. You know, some women are so comfortable in their bodies. You know, they've been allowed to be that from a really young age, and, you know, just run around, you know, half naked, just undies on, and be okay with it. And then there's others that they're either covering, you know, this part. They either show this part down, like their bodies, and then don't show their heads, or they show, you know, to their hips and then no further down. So when you look at women showing images, you can pick up bits of
their personalities,
message about what they're protecting themselves against.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Very, very powerful. And yeah, you're getting really good at reading people, obviously. So, you know, you look at people's style and how their body image is. Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So often I see it so much, you know, that and even myself, I still do it. My VA says to me, "Can we have some body shots?" And I'm like, yeah, of course, but I can't get them right. It's still that underlying body image thing that still haunts me today. So it's still there, you know. I'm aware of it, and I push myself through it, but it's still there. It is still there, and it's always it's something that I'm probably going to have to work through for the rest of my days.
Because to me, you've got a very beautiful normal body, and you're like,
I'm an Amazon, mate. I'm a goddess.
Yeah. How have you got any tips or tricks for listeners for how to be? I know you've still said you've got some issues, but obviously you're a lot better with your body than you were.
Absolutely.
So what sort of things did you do to get to that place?
I think you really have to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
In the mirror. Your mirror work that I do on the half days is powerful. But I would encourage women to do I've got a full mirror in my office here.
Yes.
I look in the full mirror. I don't just look in, you know, just
half
this part.
Yes.
I look at the whole mirror, and I love every aspect of me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And look at the whole image. I haven't put my glasses on today. Goodness me, I'm organised.
You look really good today. You said you got no makeup. She says she's got no makeup on, but she looks beautiful.
I realised I haven't got my glasses on. Yeah, so looking at your body with love, and when you do that, and if something comes up and, you know, it goes, look at those thighs or look at those arms, that's where you've got to do your work. That's where you've got to really focus on, you know, loving that area. You know, that area might have been was carrying your children when they were babies. It might have been, you know, you put your arms around your parents when you were younger. It could be those arms that, you know, extended to friends when you greet them, you know. That's
a beautiful way to look at it. Yeah.
So that type of love around those parts of the body that you're not, you know, you're not comfortable with, embracing them, and really I'm just looking at my dog.
I know, I see your dog in the background. Do you do, like, how do you do nudity? Do you ever walk around in the nude?
I get told that all the time. I don't have a problem with nudity. And
so
I
cool.
never have had a problem with nudity. My father, until we were quite, you know, probably about 6 or 7, he would always walk around nude in the family.
Same with my dad.
No, not a problem with it. You know, my husband's a prude. So he's probably, you know, brought that into the family. So that's been one. But Natalie, my daughter, she will come out with nothing on. She doesn't care where she is, who's here. She'll be like absolutely nude, and she'll be like, I'm just going to get the key to because she locks her door. She's got this, she's got a bit of anxiety around, I don't know, it's something that's happened to her, and I don't know what it is. It could be when she was in a carer's situation, and something's happened and she wants her door locked. She doesn't want anyone coming in unless they knock.
Yes.
So she locks the door. So she has this little key on our hall cupboard. And anyway, she'll walk out with no clothes on. She'll say, I can't get into my wardrobe to unlock it. So she gets the key. But she's completely starkers, you know, she just doesn't care.
That's beautiful.
she did that down at Mackay. We were at the Mackay for a wedding, and she's out on the patio going, "Mum!" I'm like,
oh dear. So
all the cousins were with her though, and they just said, "Natalie, get back inside."
Yeah, it's certain a point where you can and you can't. Like, yeah, I quite often walk around because I want to show my kids it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, so I wander around the house some mornings with,
Yeah.
and they don't even blink an eye because I've never made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
I never used to be like that. I was
Yeah.
a prude. I'd be like always covered up. But I don't know. Since I got older, I'm like, stuff this.
Yeah. Well, we're all the same. We're all, we're all the same, but we're different shapes, right?
Yes.
So we're all the same. Every one of us is the same. And I think embracing the and celebrating the journey that your body goes on, like every 10 years your body changes and shifts, and celebrating that, being okay with that is probably the biggest lesson that anyone can take, is that we are all the same. We might have a bit of extra flesh or something on us, but we're all beautiful beings underneath. We're all creative souls. We've all got women bits. We're all the same. We've all got bums and tits, and
a bit of cellulite here and there.
Yep,
we've all got it.
A little laughter cellulite. What's the images that we see is everything
airbrushed. We forget. Like, even I forget, and we know they're airbrushed. We know they're not true, but we still stand in the mirror, and I still do it and look at my cellulite on my bum or the top of my legs, and be hard on myself for it.
Yeah. Give yourself.
I've got a beautiful body, but I'm like, oh, look at cellulite.
Yeah.
So is everybody. Like,
exactly.
It's hard pressed to find someone that doesn't have any.
Well, even the skinniest people, like my sister is like one of those ruler shapes, straight up and down.
Guy's still got some.
And she's got cellulite. Like, she's got cellulite on her legs. She's 60 years old, but she still has it.
Yeah.
So I just think embracing who you are, where you are.
Oh,
it's really important.
Like, our chat, this has been amazing. I feel so much better. I love these podcasts because it just brings out so many beautiful lessons and reminders about how we really need to be loving ourselves more. Yeah. I'm hugging myself if you can't see me.
I saw that. I did that too, because
I'm like feeling myself up, and
stop beating yourself up, and surround yourself with people that love you for who you are.
Yes.
That's really important.
And that love themselves, like people that have been on that journey, and like you, and you remind me a lot of Vicky Hesse. She's very much like you.
Oh yeah, Vicky, she's
beautiful, and she just loves herself for being herself, and it's so refreshing to be around people like that. It's lovely.
I think it's important to be around people like that, because those others really drag your energy down. They can. Michelle, I have to ask you one question.
Yes.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, go for it.
We looked at your wardrobe. A few months back, and all of those beautiful. Sorry, that's my mower man. I didn't expect that.
All good.
All those beautiful garments that you had in your wardrobe, they're very boho, they're very, all those beautiful colors. I love those colors, and I see around you all those colors.
Yeah.
Really resonate to you and with you. There was one garment that was in there. It was a black and white, and it jarred my eyes. And I have to ask you, do you still have that?
It's still in there. I haven't cleaned my wardrobe out. Do I need to get rid of it?
I think the thing is, think about that, all those other clothes, and
look what I'm wearing now. I'm wearing black, which is very not like me.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it's a wintry. I don't wear dark colors either. The black and white though, it doesn't fit with who you are.
It doesn't, and it's funny because Diane picked it out for me.
Yeah.
Or someone else picked it, and it wasn't something I would ever wear, but I like to try different things. And the style, when I put it on, actually was quite flattering, but it was the color. Yeah, it just wasn't me. It was striped, I think, like chunky, big, thick stripes.
Triangles and it's very jarry, and you're quite flowy and connected.
Yes.
It's quite regimented and structured, and I don't see that in your personality.
I'm going to go into my wardrobe and get it out, and anything else that doesn't match me, because I don't wear half the stuff in there for that reason.
Yeah. So that one in particular, that was the one I wanted to ask you about, because when you look at your wardrobe, that is the one piece that really disconnects from you.
Okay. That's awesome.
So disconnected. It's you know, and there's probably someone that it will really resonate with. You know, they're more processed and structured and that type of thing, but that just didn't resonate, you know, with your personality. And this is a lot of what I do.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'll see the colors. There's primary predominant colors, you know, like there'll be 3 predominant colors in a woman's wardrobe. They do it intuitively. They don't even know they're doing it.
I had no idea when you looked at mine. It was greens, whatever colors were. I went, oh wow, because I would have sworn my wardrobe was boring. And Lucia's just straight away went, no. And she told me everything about blues, I think it was.
It was blues, yeah. There was blues aquas, and then there was that apricot pink sort of color, that shade, and then greens. So yeah.
So how do people get onto you if they want to like book in a consult or?
So I have an amazing group on Facebook called Creating Abundance with Style, and it's all about abundance and styling and really connecting with that abundance mindset with your wardrobe. So with our wardrobes, if we're not moving that clothing, we've got stagnant energy. So the stagnant energy is just sitting there. Once you start using, you know, each garment in your wardrobe, then you can, you know, open your energetic field to the abundance. So what we reflect out, we reflect in, and same with your wardrobe. So what you've got sitting and stagnating in your wardrobe, and I've done one recently with a beautiful lady, and she has just she's had so many breakthroughs with her business, her online business, but also her she's a therapist, she's a homeopath. And she's had so many, you know, different breakthroughs with, you know, just clearing that stagnant energy out of her wardrobe. So yeah, abundance flows where energy is. So you know, you teach that as well. So
that's your Facebook group, and you do consults.
I do consults. I have a 30-minute you know, consult where I can either talk about your business branding, color style, or I can talk about, you know, your personal wardrobe and, you know, what clothes in there are serving you basically.
Do you still do your half-day workshops?
I still have half-day workshops. I've got a color therapy workshop coming up on the 27th of April, so half day.
And that'll be on your group, I'm guessing, the details.
Yeah, that's in the group. I also have a retreat coming up on the 8th of August. It's up at Montville on the sunny coast. And we are collaborating with a beautiful lady called Karen Giles, who is a health and wellness coach. And we're going to be, you know, incorporating the health and wellness and, you know, connecting to your emotions and how that all works together. So
that sounds exciting. It's all happening for you.
It is, yeah.
So definitely get along and follow Lucia's stuff. She gives great value in that group, and I see her stuff all over Facebook. I love that you're always giving back and serving, which is just amazing. And I've got 3 questions for you now that are more down the spiritual side. I know you definitely are into that side because you've done you do all my soul work stuff with me. So my first question for you is, what is the soul to you?
My soul is my knowing, my wisdom. Yeah, my knowing.
Yeah, it's just that part of you, isn't it? That it's, you just know and you trust that over all. That's what I feel. You trust that knowing within you because that's the real you, the soul. Yeah.
It's interesting, when I said knowing, it went straight to my gut.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like my second brain, which I believe it is. It's so interesting that it just sat there straight away. So it's that knowing, and my journey has proven that. You know, if I don't listen, then what happens is a physical outcome from me not connecting to my soul, my energy, my
intuition. And what happens after you die?
I believe there's another plane. I believe there's another dimension. That's my my take on death. When I experienced my, you know, my bodily death, you know, back then when I was 48, I guess I had to do some really deep reflection on my life and where my life was, and you know what can happen in my future. And I've lost some really dear friends young. Some of them of no fault of their own. It's medical intervention that's gone wrong. And anyway, long story short, that has taught me that I will see them on another plane. I will see them in another dimension. Our souls will connect on another. I'm just like crying.
I know, because you do miss them, even though you know that you will see them again, and you said we are in different planes. It doesn't make it any easier on the physical.
The physical is gone.
Yeah, the physical, and we live in a physical world, Lucia. Like, that's the thing. You can know all this spiritual stuff and you can believe it like to your core, like to your soul, but it doesn't take the pain away because we're in this plane.
So I will see them again.
Yeah, definitely we'll see them again.
And that's the dimension. I'll see them in that next dimension. You know.
Do you ever get insight into that dimension through dreams or feelings or?
As I said to you before, I'm Italian,
and
my family were Romani gypsies, so I've got a really strong sixth sense, and energetically, pardon me, sorry, I've definitely got a connection to that higher self, that higher connection. When I wasn't listening to my intuitive self and my guides, I received a 4x2 plank across the forehead by my angels.
Yes, thank you.
Who said, wake up, it's time to wake up. Just do it. So yeah, definitely connect on that field, you know, my higher self.
Yeah.
Constantly listening to my messages.
I think that's everyone's like, what's our purpose in life? But I think everyone's got slightly different, obviously with different passions, we're all different, but I think that's what it is, just to connect back in with that, with the higher self, if that's what you want to call it. There's other words for it.
Yeah, when you connect to that higher energy, you don't have the anxiety, you don't have the stress, you let go of control. You just be. You have that knowing. You just be. And when you can come from that plane, that's when you accept others as they are. You have love and kindness for all, and you don't compare yourself to others either. You just are. You know, you are that amazing person that you were created to be.
That's so beautiful. Oh, wow. Wow. And my last question for you is, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure that my purpose is to support and raise women to be fearless.
Yeah. And you're doing a very good job at it.
That is my true purpose. Yeah.
Wow.
A gift here in life. Yeah.
Yep.
Is that.
Definitely. And I'm so blessed to have come across you in my life. I just so grateful for the people I've met and that I get to be around all the time. It's just amazing.
Had I not gone to that I went to an event with Francesca Moy, and it was a Christmas celebration, and I'd been following Francesca since she did the Walk of Fire with Tony Roberts.
Yep.
And I'd been on that journey with Francesca, but never actually connected or joined or anything really. And I went to this event, paid for a ticket, I think, to go. I was there by myself, and I met one of the Mafians from the Sunshine Coast, and then I saw this lady with a table of books, and she was standing there, and she just looked like she had it all together. Like she was tall, she was glamorous, she had this real boho.
Sounds like my sister.
that was her. And I just went up to her. She just had this amazing aura around her, and I sensed it. You know, I sensed the love.
Yes.
And yeah, like connection was there straight away. I bought her book. I think I bought her necklace. I couldn't afford to buy the ring, but when
It's got on her finger now.
when I connected with Diane, it was just this amazing awakening for me. You know, this connection to Francesca and Diane, and then eventually Michelle. Last year we got to connect. So
Yeah.
you know, face to face. We've been following each other offline, you know, like online, but had not really connected face to face. So we had that opportunity. Yeah, just some of the most amazing women that we've been connected to. So if it hadn't been my courage and my fearlessness to go up and talk to Diane, that none of this would have happened.
Yep.
You know, none of the connections, none of it. So, you know, it takes courage to make change in your life, and you have to find that courage. And I love to help women become fearless, go from being fearful to fearless.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been
amazing.
I know it always is, and it's very therapeutic for both the
Yeah.
person I'm interviewing and me. I always get something out of it. It's like personal therapy for me as well. So, because I get so many lessons out of what my interviewees are saying, it's unbelievable. And then this is going out to so many different listeners. We're getting a real following now. So your message will be out there too. I'm putting it out. I mean, these are timeless, these podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
People can be listening to this in 40 years' time, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for being fearless.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And yeah, you've really inspired me to be more fearless myself and really work on that self-love of my body and myself in general. So thank you so much.